peces en el río por ver a Dios nacer. Good morning everyone. Buenos días a todos. Corriendo un poquito tarde, pero bueno, nosotros planeamos y Dios es el que dispone, el que decide. Y bueno, aquí en Siembra, here, I don't know, I'm doing it in English or I'm doing it in Spanish. Sorry, Pastor Dennis. I got my little, but good morning. I was saying that we running a little late, and that we plan things away, and then God is the one that really decides. So this show supposed to start at 9:41, right? So for everyone that is listening to us through VT Radio, Universal, listening to us through TuneIn, and also 106.5, One American Voice, welcome to the show. Siembra, today is December 19th of 2021. And the year, we like 3 weeks or 2 weeks from and then the 2021. And last year, this time I was saying, next year by summer we are done with the COVID stuff. But I don't know. I'm just thinking, I don't know, because I was listening to the news, and United States, 5 million people around the world already die of COVID. United States has the highest amount of people infected and that die of COVID. We have India, and I don't remember what's the other country. But yes, so we still COVID, and I don't know. I don't think it's going to go away. Maybe it's going to be something like the flu that we're going to have to vaccinate every year just to keep ourselves from getting sick. So yes, I was saying that almost 3 weeks for an ending the year. I hope that everyone is doing well. Especially, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on around the world. I like to do that. And here in the United States, I know Kentucky had the storm that it was devastated. Especially now we have people that, don't have, they really in the streets. They don't have where to live. So in this season, we want to also remember the people that are suffering, people that are out there, whether because of something like the storm or whether because of other things that are going on in the world. So with that in mind, we want to talk about Christmas, but we also want to remember that there is people that are not as fortunate as us, as having health or having a home or having food. And that I every year I used to try to pick some kind of charity or do something for someone that I'm not related, that I don't know, because this is a sign of gratefulness. So Pastor Dennis, we're going to talk about Christmas, but I started talking about charity and giving. We're going to talk a little bit about the meaning, how it started, that we was talking before the show, that we're not sure when it really started, because it was almost developed. It was something that started with a celebration, and then it transferred into something and different cultures took it and make them their own too. So I have Pastor Dennis, that is my co-host, every third Sunday of the month, and we are going to sit here and talk about Christmas. We're going to talk about the word, how it's celebrated in different parts of the world. And also, you have a story that is memorable to you about Christmas. You can also tell us. And I have Chris. Chris is going to be part of our show today, because I was reading about Mexico, and Mexico is one of the. It's kind of big in North America, and they celebrate every state. Every state celebrate Christmas differently. That I was, in Panama, is as a whole is celebrated, but in Mexico, every state has the unique way of celebrating Christmas. So, with that saying, I know I'm talking a lot. Pastor Dennis, introduce yourself, and then maybe we can start talking a little bit about Christmas and how it started.
Okay. Well, I guess you know my name. I was a pastor for several years, and anyway, we would like to come in and talk about how faith and life interchange with each other once a month. And this month, we are focusing on Christmas. Just to give you a little bit of background on Christmas, we like to think these holidays that we have acquired were set up by God to be celebrated in a specific way, and that we are simply doing our job to follow the traditions of our forefathers. And much of life doesn't work that way, and Christmas is clearly not one of those events that we celebrate in such a way. In fact, Christmas, the whole idea of celebrating Christ's birth originated in the 4th century. The early church, the only thing that they celebrated, the big event of the church calendar up until the 4th century, was Easter, was Christ's death and resurrection. Mm-hmm. That was the one and only thing and it was resurrection that they celebrated. Okay. In fact, that's why the religious day in the church moved from Saturday to Sunday, because Sunday was the day that Christ was resurrected. Mm-hmm. And so they met to celebrate his resurrection on a weekly basis, but then they did it annually as well. So, but the church leaders in the 4th century decided to have a birthday festival, and it was not connected to any particular day that I'm aware of. It caught on in the East, but in the Western world, it did not catch on at all, which is why in I think it was 537, the Roman Catholic Church instituted Christmas, and what they did was the Roman communities had celebrated an Iranian god,
Yeah, and I was reading that it says that, and the 25th of December, actually, what that day did is they celebrated the god Murta, or Murta, yes. Murta, and thinking about it,
Mithra, yeah.
Yes, we just took. It's just kind of started to just kind of transform the Catholic community service, the Roman church. What it did, it just took those little pieces, bits and pieces, and created our own, Christmas.
Yeah, the Catholic Church didn't bring others into Christianity by personal conversion. They brought others into Christianity by political conquest. So when they took over a country, part of what they did was they converted the local customs of that into Catholic religious customs.
And we...
Because people get used to celebrating a particular way, and if you if you tell them they can't celebrate like that, they're not going to be respectful of the new. So they morph them, and they merge them into one celebration of a Christian perspective on those things.
And I was thinking that maybe we're gonna have to do another show of that. It's because yes, it is that when the Spaniards colonized the Americas, they brought their own idea of who God was. And these indigenous people used to celebrate and worship the sun god, and they used to celebrate and worship the sun seed, and not the sun, the seed, and they celebrated the earth, the things of the earth. That when the Spaniards colonizers, they came and said, no, there is a God, and we, this is the way you celebrate. But that is a show by itself. Yes.
Right. Well, religion was very much tied to the earth, because the earth revealed what God to them, and so they looked to the earth to understand who and what God was. Because if this was God's earth, then the earth would reflect it. So they looked to the earth to understand God, and that hasn't really changed. The earth is still a representation of who God is, but that's the origin of religion, is the earth. I think
one of the things that happened that changed is that the focus was on, today it's more on this invisible being that is above us, than before. The indigenous people and people in other parts of the world, what they did is that they connected the earth with that invisible being. They see the earth, and they see the animals and the sun, and they say, I know that this was created by something bigger than us, and we have to respect it and worship it, because we really don't have a control of this. Is you want to say that today I think it's reverse, sort of.
Well, I think you have to look at it from a developmental model. When children are small, they do not understand anything that's abstract. Everything is concrete. Okay? And the origins of religion are very concrete. They're not abstract. And so they look to the earth, they look to the concrete things that they could touch and feel and see to explain the abstract. As we mature in our intellect, we progress from the concrete to the abstract. And that is true in religion as well. And part of the problem of what we have in religion, especially in Christianity, not that it's not as equal a problem in other religions, but I'm Christian, so I understand it in the Christian context, is Christians are still stuck in a concrete world, and they want to understand Christianity in concrete terms instead of abstract terms. We're talking about a God that is bigger and above and beyond. That's very abstract. And a lot of people can never get to that point. They hear the terms, they use the terms, but they don't understand them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And the same is true back then. But Christmas is the result of conquest by politics. So when Rome wanted to conquer the people and make the people Christian. They didn't do it by changing their hearts. They did it by changing their customs.
Mm-hmm.
And so Christianity was the converting of the celebration of the birth of a pagan god. It was the god of agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Saturn.
Yes, Saturn likes the Saturn likes something, but
Right.
but the fact that I'm just thinking about what you saying, because in the entire Latino America, entire is when the Spaniards conquer it all these countries that they conquer became Catholic, and for some reason, we is I go to Mexico, I go to Costa Rica or Peru, we have the same foundation of celebration, and we have a lot of the same customs. It's just modified just a little bit to the culture and to the people of that country. So
Right.
it is like right now I'm wearing this little red thing right here. This little red thing right here. And I know in our country, and Christian can in our Latino America, this is something to keep you from the bad spirits, right? This
I know. A
this
lot of people believe in
the,
that. I
the,
personally don't. I personally believe we need nothing on our bodies to protect us, except for the Holy Spirit, But
but this thing, they put it to the babies.
But yeah, I see.
They put it to the babies with little bees, and this is across Latino America, right? Every country
Right.
does that, and it's you or Spanish, you know what this means.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that
You
is.
know what this means, right?
And that well, I don't, to be honest, but I've seen it in other people, and
Yes,
yeah,
and I'm wearing it.
and I know that other people feels like totally unprotected if they don't
Don't
wear
have it,
it, if they
yes.
don't have it. I mean,
But normally they used to put it on babies. Now the grown up like me, I'm wearing it. But and I don't know why. You asked me that too, Christian. You asked me why I'm wearing
I'm gonna
it.
sound very rude, but I think it's nobody's perfect, Jess. So,
And as much fun as you are having about that, there are a lot of Christian traditions that have their roots in warding off evil spirits.
Well, today,
So it's
yes.
just not just Latin. My cultures, I'm Scandinavian, and both Sweden and Norway and Holland, actually all three of them, and Holland is not a Scandinavian country, but it is part of my heritage. All three of them have Christian Christmas traditions that originate in superstition about evil spirits.
Yeah, so I'm listening, and it just Christmas for and I was reading about Africa, and I was thinking Africa is probably one of the continents that don't celebrate heavily Christmas like us here in this continent of Las Americas. So but for every country is just tweak. They tweak it a little bit and make it their own. And that's where I wanted to come in, because we have all these different things that when I came here to the United States, and I'm not a Christmas person. I'm sorry. Yes, I know people said, I'm a little bit grinchy when it comes to Christmas, but it is because of also my background. In Panama, we didn't shop a lot. Christmas, from my generation when I was young, it was more about food and family. I don't remember maybe one time, I'm going to tell the story, that you had to have a lot of gift. I remember the 24th of December coming, it's that day, and there is, you just to feel something in the air. Also, the smell and the weather in Panama just changed. December in Panama is almost like spring. It's that spring feeling and season, so it's sunny, but it's still, you have that breeze, you see, and it's, there's a smell. I don't know, is I'm right, there is a smell of Christmas. Do you ever hear that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there is
you,
like a smell. You can smell it in
Yeah.
the environment.
Not only that, yeah, you go to the markets and it's those maybe vegetables, those flowers that make that special sense, a special, very, very characteristic. But if you go to houses, it's the maybe what they're cooking around, the holidays. It's I don't know. Everybody's in the good mood, It's like closing a cycle. I mean, it's something that psychologically, I think, it makes you smell that. So.
And I was thinking, Pastor Dennis, that is the one celebration I believe around the world that brings people together. It's the one celebration, and it already start with what you were saying about the why it was started, and it was introduced into these different countries. But it really bring people together. It really changed your mood. People are a little bit more happy. Yes.
The day that where the war was stopped for one night, I believe, right? There is a story that I remember.
World War II?
Yeah, exactly, right? When the troops they start singing, Christmas songs, and the other troops
I didn't know that.
hearing, and that's when they kind of said, "Well, okay, we're not gonna shoot." I mean, it's
Oh my God, I love it.
It was the Germans, the Nazis started singing Silent Night in German, and the Allied forces started singing it in their language. And they actually came out of the foxholes and celebrated together.
So it's not a bad. It's not a bad idea. It wasn't a bad idea. It's not a bad idea today. But today we're gonna talk a little bit of how it's been transformed into its shopping spree. Into you gotta just go and you shop and you get ready for this one day for a couple hours, and then it's done and you're exhausted. So I wanted to start with Chris. Tell me, what is your most memorable time of Christmas when you was growing up, and what is the difference today that it's just stressful for a lot of people? Christmas is a little bit more stressful today because you gotta run around and try to buy make sure everybody has something. That then I didn't feel like it was like that.
Well, I grew up celebrating Christmas in like two different families. The family, the side of my mother was I will say most of them, they were living under the, we'll say it wasn't even like mid-class. I mean, some of the members of the family, they have just the essentials. I mean, a place to live, maybe food, but that's it. I mean, there was, and of course, as a child, as kid, and because I was receiving all these messages in TV, the commercials, the toys and all that, I always was like enjoying more on the other side of the family, where the tradition of giving, gifts,
It was
or
a little bit
exchanging
more money.
It was exactly, as a kid. But as I grew up and I went through moments that we couldn't be with the family, that in Christmas, I guess I enjoy it more. I start understanding, what was the real purpose. I mean, the meaning. On the other family, well, we had other. We had dinner, of course, delicious, But my grandma was more into taking us into church. It was a day like to give a special thanks. We don't have Thanksgiving Day in Mexico, neither in Latin America, but in Christmas it was the day of giving a special thanks to God for everything that we have. For especially for being healthy. Well, maybe you at 14 years old, you don't really value, that you are healthy, unless you have
You're not
maybe
thinking about it.
unless you have a sister or a brother that cannot walk or is being, on bed, or no, I mean, it's just, it's like, so that, but yeah, I'm seeing what you were mentioning, it somehow it's very seductive, how TV, how the ad, how these people have to take advantage of the holiday to like sell something, right? To sell an idea that without buying items, without buying presents on that, it's it's not a
It's
complete
not.
Christmas,
Yes.
right? Is that
Yes.
how it is? I mean, I was looking at hearing on the radio the other day, that now they're coming out with this special ring, so it's not only for engagement or for, when you get married, it's a special ring that will tell your special one, your other half, or your significant one that you love him or love her in Christmas. I mean, and it's like, if you don't buy anything like that, that means you don't love them in Christmas.
Oh, just for Christmas. Oh my God.
Anyway, so that's my comment.
Pastor Dennis, and yes, we're talking about how is it become something that is more of a commercial holiday today. Like Christian was mentioning about, they make special items for this time of the year that is a must-have. If you don't have it, then you're not celebrating Christmas. You're a little bit grinchy. But tell us a story that takes you back about Christmas, and what is the difference today and then, and how you feel, because I know that for me today is like, I'm not gonna run around trying to buy stuff for nobody. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna stress myself like that anymore. But yes, tell us a story, something that also you was telling me of your roots too, that maybe reminds you that your mom or your dad or your family, like Christian was saying, it takes you back to thinking how it was more centered into family. That was the mainly idea too, right?
Well, if I'm remembering a Christmas tradition, I think one that I remember the most is when a Vietnamese friend of mine who came over as one of the boat people. He joined us for the first Christmas. He joined us for is the one that I remember the most. In my family, on Christmas, we celebrated on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day was different, but on Christmas Eve, everything was frantic up until the meal. And because everything was frantic, the Christmas Eve meal was not a big thing. We had sandwiches, and we had cookies and whatever dessert things people had given us or created for the day or whatever. And we eat enough to carry us through the gift giving part of the night. And then we would go in and read the Christmas story and give the gifts and all of that type of stuff. Then once that was over, we would gather around the family and do some Christmas caroling. And that particular year, we trying to reconnect to the social element of Christmas, became a little more aware of that. So that particular Christmas, we decided we were going to go out and carol to some individuals. The son of one of the people that was celebrating Christmas Eve with us, her son had been put in jail, and so we went to the jail and caroled outside the jail for him. And my friend, who grew up in Vietnam, just was freaking out like nobody's business, because that was something that you could expect to be arrested and put into a camp for doing. And it was such a cultural shock between the two of them. We spent time trying to understand why he was freaking out, and then having to communicate the difference between the world he grew up in and the world he now was a part of, and calming him down so that he could, feel comfortable. But then after that was over, we came home, and then we made pizza, and then had pizza, late in the evening. And then we would start, while this was happening, the kids would be playing with the toys that they were given. And then we'd, pick one of the games that was given at Christmas, and we'd all play the game together. And then around midnight, we're not Lutheran or Catholic, we were Pentecostal. We shipped off because my friend grew up Catholic, we went to the Catholic church for Mass, midnight Mass.
Yes.
And then came home afterwards and, played games until everybody was falling asleep and you couldn't play the game anymore. Then everybody would go to bed, and we'd wake up whatever time we woke up. And on a Christmas day, my dad was a teacher, so we would go to the school, to their gymnasium, and just play at the gymnasium. Or some years we would go to the swimming pool, whatever was open at the time, and just, play together. And while my mother was getting the Christmas dinner together, which would be mid-afternoon on Christmas Day. So that's my memory of Christmas. But that blends the family and blends the community stuff. I never really saw a lot of the community stuff growing up. We did it in school. We did community stuff in school, but actually caroling, going around and caroling, that was something that happened intermittently. Sometimes we do it and sometimes we didn't, depending on the year. And it depended on which organization we were attached to, because it wasn't the family that generally went caroling. It was some type of a church group or a community group that would do caroling.
And going back to what you were saying about, you said you went to the church, you went to the Mass, and the 24 and Christian, connecting again to what Christian said. That is essentially what we used to do for the 24th, Noche Buena. Everybody, that was a must. You had to go and spend at least the midnight into Christmas in the church. That's it. That was a must. And I think we do it too for New Year's, right? We do it too for New Year's. It's a must that you must go, and everybody, the thing about, and I look now at Panama, I look at Mexico, I look at Puerto Rico, I look at all these different Latin American countries that we have the same rituals that we do. It's just tweaking it a little different. And one of the things about Carol is in Puerto Rico, they call it la bombas.
Oh.
Yes. Mexico, what they call it?
La fiesta, la pachanga.
But you,
posada.
Yes, la posada.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you go from house to house, and you sing.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about la posadas too, because and every country is a little different too.
Right.
But it's the same concept, And I was thinking about, when we talk about Christmas, one of the main things that also bring people together is I started the show talking about all the things bad that are going on right now around the world. We have homelessness, especially in Washington, not especially, but here in Washington State, it's just crazy. And we have the governor that just signed a bill for $800 million to help with the homeless here in Tacoma. We have Kentucky. We have abroad. We have a lot of things going on around the world. We have the immigrants that are sitting right now in the border of Mexico. We have so much going on. But this time of the year, and I was reading, it was a time for the rich to do a little bit of charitable given to the people that less have. And I thought about Christian saying, he had two different families. One that was a little bit more affluent, and then we had the other side that they had just enough to live, And for me, it was the same. I'm going to tell my story, but thinking about Christmas and giving, that is probably one of the heart of the Christmas is to give. But when I think of Christmas and giving, it's not giving to Christian or giving you. It's to give into the person, the people that have the less fortune, the people that you might never see again or know, but you at least want to make that person day a little better day. So I wanted you guys to talk a little bit about that. Chris, maybe, that it is a day of giving, but that recycle giving, I don't think that's I don't know. I call it recycle. Giving every year to your family. I mean, it's cool to give to your family and friends, but I think for me, I used to pick every year, and I make sure my son and the giving trees, or we would go to church, where I used to go to church with Pastor Dennis. When we used to go to church, I would cook. I would go that day and serve. And now it's changed so much into that recycle giving, that you have to go and make sure you give to all your friends and family. And we don't know, I don't know if people think about these people that right now they're out there in the cold. So Chris, tell me a little bit about, what do you think about the giving part of it and how it should be viewed? And our kids that think and they have that entitlement, expectation that they have to get something.
Well, I think they shouldn't be just for one day, or for this day, It's something that we need to take care of it, like in regular basis, in the daily basis. The other thing I would like to share is when you feel like you don't have that motivation to give, because you think that maybe what you're giving is going to be waste, or is going to go ending on somebody else and not necessarily the people that need it. And if you are a Christian, well, ask God to help you, to see the real need on people, and ask for wisdom, on like, I would like to give, but I would like to give with to those that really will,
whatever you're giving is going to the real, to the needy.
Exactly. Because I mean, we have all kind of organizations, that they do great job, but the 100% we give, at the end, of the line, only like 15-20%, it gets to the people that need it. And I don't want to like point fingers on no organization or nothing, but I seen it, I seen that, it's too expensive sometimes, to give through that way, there that's why I all the time I'm asking for like, wisdom, please, God, show me where the real need is, and if and then just multiply, these, giving with sacrifice sometimes, it's not, I mean, God loves you no matter what, but I think you make God smile when you give that, I mean, with your heart, not only what is like left, but when you dedicate, that, and sometimes, if we look at the numbers on the Bible, not everything has to be exactly, at that number. I mean, some people, I mean, or some churches, they put a price tag, on the support they're supposed to be like getting, from people.
Yes.
And I think it works, kind of the same way. I mean, it's like if you see somebody that maybe it's in need, maybe in the, like you were mentioning, the people that is living across the street, some of them are there not because there is no help. It's because they have mental issues, they have problems that they're not being pay attention, and it's not maybe a lack of resources. It's been a lack of it's a broken system that is just not working for everybody. It's a people that just was left, with no attention. Anyway, but you're not gonna come with maybe, let's say, piece of brand new furniture to someone that has not even a place to put it, right?
Yes.
You're gonna maybe go a little bit more wisely, and I'm gonna maybe have conversation with them.
Yes.
Because some of them, I mean, people they come when you see a homeless, approaching to you, the first thing comes to your mind is gonna ask me for money, right? And sometimes you wait defensively, oh, I don't have no change, or but sometimes it's not that. I mean, they just want to have a 5 minutes of conversation.
They
with
just
you.
want to be seen as a human being. We want to be seen.
And yeah, some of them, they're in need, but they're not like really asking me. I mean, they let you see what the real need.
The need is,
That's my comment.
Yes. And Pastor Dennis, what do you think about this? The giving part of and I said recycle giving because a lot of times we give to the same people every year. Yeah.
I agree with Chris that it should not be just one part of the year. But the value of Christmas is that it reminds us of this important part of life once a year. And it's up to us to institute it the rest of the year. Because if you have this push all year long, people are going to tune out. But giving to the needy is like giving gifts in your family. If you give based on what benefits you, you're going to misgive. You're going to give people something that they don't really want. But if you have your ear to the pavement and understand what it is that they need and want, you'll give what they need or what they want. I know this afternoon, I am going with two other former pastors, and some other volunteers to give out gifts to the homeless. And I spent yesterday, shopping for socks and underwear, because with everything that we like to give to the homeless, one of my friends told me that's what they told her they needed was socks and underwear. Not very glamorous, but that's what we got. But we see that. I think one of the reasons why homeless people probably ask for money is because with money, then they can spend it on what they really need, as opposed to what people think they need.
But the misconception with when you give them money, a lot of times people would tell me, don't give because they're just gonna go buy alcohol or buy drugs, and that
we
is
don't.
not for me to say it or no, but I mean, I do give is, at the moment, but a lot of people stand themselves for giving money because they're thinking these people in the street and they drug addicts and alcohol and that's what they're going to use the money for. But I
There-
agree with you. They're going to use the money for whatever they think they need. I mean,
For there's a minority of homeless people that are addicted, but because that minority exists, they define the whole group.
yes.
And unfortunately, and a lot in when we're talking about alcohol and drugs, we also have to realize that alcohol and drugs is the poor man's way of getting pharmaceuticals. They don't have the ability to go to a doctor and be prescribed the correct thing to deal with their malady. And so they use the things that are available to them to
Medicate.
self-medicate. There we go.
Self-medicate or just to try to not feel that pain or
And that's a form of self-medication. You can't go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or someone who can help you process the pain. You got to deal with it.
yes.
And some people, alcohol is the only way they have to deal with it. They don't have somebody to talk it through with. And if we really care about them, instead of hiding money from them in case they self-medicate, maybe we need to get out there and talk with them and help them process that pain
Yes.
so they don't need it anymore.
Wow. You guys
You know what I'm
you guys did the same thing. Just talking to you, just letting people know that I see you. I might not know what your story or what you're going through or why you are the way you are, but I see you. And that for a human being, I work downtown Tacoma, right in the building. I probably should say this, where they have this homeless center or house. And when I go take my break or when I used to go walk, I would say hello. They talk to me. I talk back, and I had friends. I said, "You gotta be careful." And I said, "You know what? No, I want them to know that I see them,
Why do we have to be more careful around
Yes.
the homeless than we have to be around anybody else? Like the homeless are as likely or as unlikely to be criminals
Yes.
as any other element of society. The problem is we historically have criminalized poverty, and we've criminalized mental illness, and we have at the core of us, we want to criminalize poverty and mental illness, and that's not an appropriate response.
And I do have my own story to tell. I do have my own story. And when it comes to Christmas, I was a little bit grinchy. I'm not big on Christmas, even though I decorate my home. And in the past, I used to cook and do all this stuff. But because of my background, like Christian was talking, I had two different sets of families too. My mom, she was a little bit more on the poor side, and my mom and my dad was divorced, separated when I was born. So, and then on my dad's side too, he was a little bit better than my mom, and I lived with my dad for a period of time, and I also lived with my mom for a period of time. And I remember with my dad, one Christmas that we had nothing, absolutely nothing. and he used to like to play and go to the horse race, to the, how do you call it, hipódromo ¿cómo le dices el hipódromo en español, en inglés? The racetrack.
Yeah.
So he loved going to the racetrack and watching and playing and picking the horses and stuff. And I remember that Christmas he did, and came back with $50. He won $50, and that was for Christmas. And in Panama, I don't know in Mexico, but in Panama, the turkey wasn't a big thing. The turkey started to be part of the Panamanian Christmas dinner today, but it was arroz con pollo, rice and chicken. It was ham. The ham had to be part of the Christmas. And then we have the tamales, right? And that was the main three things that you had in your home for Christmas in Panama. And now looking at the world, especially that world that I am part of, Latino America, most of the countries that are part of that continent is it has the same traditions, it has the same. The tamales are in Mexico, there's tamales. In Panama, there's tamales. In Puerto Rico, there's tamales, just called differently. In Cuba, there's tamales. In Costa Rica, there's tamales. In Nicaragua, Guatemala, Mexico, they said that's where the tamales started. They started in Mexico and Guatemala, and it's the main source. And talking about the agriculture part of Christmas, it points this: the main ingredient for the tamales are corn. That's in every tamal that we see. But I think the Puerto Ricans, they use plantains and more of a potato root, yam. I don't know if you know, yam is a little different here than there and in our country, but the main ingredient for that tamal is corn. And going back to what it is that happens in December in the cornfields, and why it is that the corn was used as the main ingredient of tamales almost everywhere. Go back to that we was talking about. The sun and the time of farming, and the fruits and veggies that we used to get at this time of the year that was utilized to celebrate this, right? So I know you don't know a lot about tamales, but we have a little expert here, and I can talk and involve for my Panamanian tamales, and now the Mexican tamales, I eat a lot of them too. Just tweak it just a little different than the Panamanian tamales. And this year I went to a Cuban restaurant and I had Cuban tamales, and that was amazing, but also just tweak a little different. I wish we had a food expert here to talk about tamales. We had a show about tamales one time here in VT, but talks about the tamales here. And I was reading that in every part of Mexico, it's different too.
Well,
it's a little different.
You don't need to be an expert to love them, You just eat them, and yeah, you're right. There's like many different ones, and it depends, the areas. But I will say from central to mid-central, of course, the ones with corn leaf, and there are many different ones. It's the imagination. It's has no limits. But in the south, which is closer to Guatemala, to El Salvador, they use the banana leaves.
We use the banana leaves too.
Banana leaves.
Yes.
And they made them with meats, vegetables, what else? ¿Cómo se dicen plantas? And like hierbas.
Okay,
herbs,
so herbs.
And you're right, and it's the main dish in
Yes.
many towns in South. That is in Christmas or December the
It's a
12th,
must-have.
which is a celebration for the Guadalupe lady. It's a must have. That
Yes.
is like, and you were saying about the ham, about the food, for example, in Mexico. Now it's a little bit different because now there is some big change of stores now that brings all kind of different items, different food. But on those years when I grew up, it was a luxury to have a turkey on the table.
Yes.
Only rich people maybe once every 10 years. When we came to United States, we find out that here they give them away for free. They're like, really, it's probably the less expensive meat you can have.
Yes.
But in Mexico, it was a luxury. But ham was
Yes.
the thing.
Yes, we had ham.
Or a pork leg. Right?
Yes.
Pork leg. Yeah, that was another traditional, inexpensive dish is romeritos, which is it's herbs. Romeritos. With shrimp, like tortas, but not like torta. It's like how can I say it? This is like it's like almost like a tamale, but you make it with the shrimp, with dry shrimp, which becomes like powder, and then it's deep fried. So that's another Mexican traditional dish for Christmas. Romeritos con torta de camarón. And mole. So it's a dish that you don't spend that much on it. On another one, it's and this came from Spain. I am assuming is the bacalao, which is fish. It's
Dry fish.
Dry fish, and it is that's a little bit more expensive. That other dishes, but it's like one of those. It's one of those dinners.
I didn't know you guys eat bacalao.
Oh yeah.
Oh
bacalao,
my God.
Yes. But the dinner is like in Christmas. You spend money on Christmas. The idea is that to have the best dinner of the entire year.
Now, Pastor Dennis, and we know by tradition what is the food, but see the difference. We're looking at turkey. Why turkey here? Well, how it is that the turkey became part of the Thanksgiving also, and the Christmas main dish for Christmas and Thanksgiving is because of they created this industry of turkey, or it's because at that time the turkey was something that was there and it's okay, let's kill and cook these turkeys and have them instead of chicken.
I'm not exactly sure how turkeys became a core thing for Christmas, but turkeys had no association with Christmas until the mid 1800s, when the royal family in England used turkey for the first time on Christmas, and apparently it caught on.
Yeah.
But it's, beyond that, I don't really know what the connection with turkey is. Never had reason to check it out. I'm sure it would be easy to solve if you.
Now, here in the United States, one of the main dishes is potatoes, for sure. You have potatoes in your dinner. Also, what else? We have the stuffing. The stuffing is something new too in Panama. What else? We have the cranberry. So these are things that was farm, and corn was farm, and that's why it was included into this celebration.
Well, all of those things are traditional for Thanksgiving.
Oh no, not for Christmas.
I'm not aware of them necessarily being traditional for Christmas, but I think the two holidays tend to mimic each other because they feed off of each other. Like Jingle Bells was not created as a Christmas song. It was a Thanksgiving song, but it got morphed into Christmas. And I think the turkey and stuffing and all that other stuff was Thanksgiving morphed into Christmas as well. But there are a lot of, I don't ever remember eating turkey for Christmas.
Oh.
I never had turkey for Christmas. Never knew there was supposed to be a connection until I became an adult, and my wife, family did turkey for Christmas. Okay, I don't understand, but okay. I think we had turkey at Thanksgiving and ham at Christmas. I think it's kind of what the family I grew up with. But what that main course is for Christmas is completely different based on whatever culture you grew up in.
Yes.
I think it's in Iceland where they take a seal skin and they take bird and they wrap it in seal skin, and
I was
3 months before Christmas, and let it. I
was reading that Japan, they eat Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah,
they eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was like, what?
Well, we have that one time,
Yes.
and that's because in Mexico, well, now it's a little different, but still, I believe that having KFC it's a luxury. It's not something that anybody can afford it. I mean, here anybody, you go for a meal, you spend less than $10. In Mexico, that's pretty much what maybe somebody makes the entire day, if they're lucky. I mean, or sometimes takes a week to make that kind of money. So that's having KFC in Christmas. Yeah, it's let's say that is a celebration.
That's in Japan. That's how they celebrate Christmas with Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And that's because KFC was trying to change the association of what the Christmas fair was, and they did a push in a advertising campaign in Japan about this is a staple of Christmas, and it was so novel that the people of Japan tried it out and they liked it.
Yes,
and it stuck.
And I was thinking the things that go across borders, like nuts. We have nuts on our table. I remember we always had to have a bag of nuts, whether almonds or what are the other ones that look like the brain? Walnuts. The walnuts. Yes. The other thing that you must have in your home was grapes, right, Chris? Grapes. It was and all of it had its own meaning. I think grapes, what it means for grapes to have in Christmas, we had to have a bowl of fruits, apples and oranges and stuff.
There's a special salad. Right?
The Christmas balls you put on your Christmas tree, their origin is a replica of apples, which is a reference back to the Garden of Eden.
Because I had my friend, she died a couple of years late, older lady, and she was a blessing in my life. She welcomed me to her home like I was one of her daughters. And I remember the big thing that she used to do for Christmas is bake. And she's really good at baking. She will bake pies and pies. I don't know, in Mexico and Panama, we don't bake pies. In Panama, we did a pineapple, how do you call that? A pineapple.
Upside down cake?
Yes. That was the must with the little cherry. And here she used to bake all these different walnuts pie, apple pie, what it was the other pies, and she would make all the little cookies and all the little cakes and all the different things. And I remember, so how is that came about too? That I mean, I don't think in Mexico they do pies too.
No,
right?
no.
Here is lots of pies.
Yeah.
And it has to do also with the fruits that there was in those seasons, right?
I don't know. In my Dutch tradition, it's oranges, because the royalty orange. I think that's what the connection there is. But oranges is a big European kind of thing too. But I think it's originally comes from Holland. Some of the other traditions.
But my friend, she said when she was younger, that's what she used to get 2 oranges.
Yeah.
For Christmas. That was the gift.
Right.
She gave. I was laughing because she said, "Yes, that's what we get for Christmas: 2 oranges, and that was her Christmas gift."
I think fruitcake comes from Egypt.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I was reading about that.
And that's another evil spirit thing.
Fruitcake.
It's oh no. Fruitcake is something that represents success in the afterlife. That's what it is.
Yes, I thought that's it. But in Panama, I don't know in Mexico, but in Panama, fruitcakes is a big thing. And my dad was really good. And what he did, he would take the fruit, it's a dry fruit, and he would put it in a vase, not a vase, but a jar, and soak it like for 3 months with rum.
Ooh.
And yes, soak it like for 3 months with rum. And then for Christmas Day, he would bake the Christmas cake with a lots of fruit. But the rum would make the fruit also moist because this was dry fruit. And then you get that rum cake, right. Christmas cake. And also we had the punch. He was really, really good at making the punch. I remember the eggs and the nutmeg and all those different things. And it was homemade too. I know I go and buy my stuff at the store. I should try to make it. And he used to put a little bit of rum too in that stuff. But the fruit cake, yes, we I don't know if it's in Mexico they did fruit cake, but in Panama fruit cake was a big thing.
No,
it was not today, but it was.
Yeah, no, not in Mexico. No, we it depends what part of Mexico, but there is at least in Central there is a special salad that you make with betabeles. What's betabeles in English? It's beets,
beets,
very colorful beets,
yes,
and with oranges and banana.
Oh,
and
that sounds good.
Peanuts and lettuce. You have shredded lettuce on the salad, and it's sweet, and it's it's hard not to have Christmas without the salad, which is very inexpensive, to make. But that's no special cakes or pipes or anything like that. I mean, no.
We did fruit cake. Pastor Dennis, you was going to say something.
Oh, I was going to mention. I was trying to remember what country it comes from, but braided bread.
Oh.
It was Spanish.
Yes, we do that.
It's a Spanish thing, braided bread, because the 3 braids.
La rosca.
You should tell the story about Mexico, how they do it, because they have the little
wise men.
They have inside the bread. You find the little
baby Jesus.
Yes,
right?
yes. Tell the story about it.
It's becoming very popular now here because many Mexican bakeries they do that, and I mean it's probably the best day because it's becoming very expensive.
They're expensive.
They are asking for a lot of money for those. I mean, but it's probably when they basically recover, they make it out for the summer. They don't sell a lot of sweetbread, but tradition, I believe, came from Spain, from the Catholic kings. And it represents the cycle, the never-ending cycle of God. That's why it's round. And the little toys, the little...
I got one, the toy.
You got one. So you're supposed to make tamales on the following month, on February the 2nd. So... Yeah, but it's a tradition that now it's coming.
We have bread too. We have la roscas. We have the roscas too.
Yeah.
Pastor Dennis, you was going to say something.
Oh, the idea of baking anything into bread is one of the oldest Christmas traditions that exists.
Uh-huh.
It goes back to Rome when they would have a child or a street person that would become king for the day, and they'd be able to boss people around.
Yeah, I was reading that.
And in France, their version of it is that I think it's a bean. I can't swear to that, but I think it's a bean that is cooked into their Christmas pastry, and whoever finds the bean in their pastry gets to be the king for the day.
Oh, look at that!
And other countries have modified that tradition of baking whatever that thing is into the thing, and whoever finds it is the special person for the day. But it goes back because one of the oldest, when Christmas was more of a carnival environment, this street person or this child being king of the day, of course, as a child, that means being a trickster and doing all kinds of things. And so that tradition dominated the Christmas experience for several years, and it was kind of it became kind of a mean event. It was kind of like an April Fool's type of thing, where you trickster, and sometimes it wasn't just trickster, sometimes it's just mean-spirited.
And I was reading about that, but I was thinking of how everything is all, we just like the Christmas idea just got tweaked more and more into different cultures.
Yeah.
And how they're not exactly the same in every culture, but there's a little bit of similarity in it. And the one thing, Christian tell me we got 5 minutes, but the one thing that I want to say, it's not a bad thing to bring the world abroad, bring the completely word, and have this one celebration that also when it comes to your attitude, for some reason, for a lot of people, it changed too. Now, through the years, I noticed I used to work retail. It became more stressful for people, Christmas, because of this commercialized part of it. Now, I know I don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but it's become something stressful for a lot of people. And before, I remember me growing up, the Christmas, the bustle in the air, the people, the food, the smell, and you didn't feel that stress like you feel it today. Yeah. It's almost like performing for one day for a couple hours with gifts and food instead of enjoying that celebration that really brings us together in a
I think that's part of being in a capitalistic society, and the idea that there is a perfect celebration that exists. There isn't one, but we've gotten our culture has kind of gotten into trying to do the right things and do everything the right way and performance-based. And this idea that there is an official Christmas that exists out there that we have to replicate is not real. It's made up. The Christmas that we have in the U.S. is primarily attributed to three sources. One of them is Washington Irving.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a story that in the story, Christmas was a family event.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a family event until he introduced the concept.
Mm-hmm.
People loved the story, they loved the idea, and so they started celebrating Christmas as a family event instead of a community event. Another is the Christmas Carol. When Bob Cratchit, and the whole experience of almost dying, and now he's reborn
Yes.
as a giver, as a benevolent person.
Yes.
That not only heavily influenced Christianity, but it heavily influenced the aristocracy.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, the aristocracy started becoming the parents of the poor people, and so that became their role, was to fulfill that parent role. And then the third one, of course, is the night before Christmas. That was where Saint Nick was converted to
Saint
Santa
Nicholas.
Claus.
Yes. Are we gonna need to have another show about because it is so rich, and it give you a sense of feeling good, but then again we gotta think about other people that are out there and it's not as fortunate as us. We gotta think, and one of the things that I was reading, it was also a time of giving and charity. So and not just like you and Christian said, I want to close a little bit the show with this. It's not just giving things to people, but also just going maybe to a nursing home that I know with COVID is different, and visiting a elderly person that might not have family, or just randomly given to somebody that you don't know, that you're not connected to. Those are the things that I think we need to start thinking about too when it comes to Christmas, and maybe just being grateful and thinking that we are yes. So we are almost, no, we done already. So Pastor Dennis, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas
to you and to your family. Thank you for sitting here with us through this year, and I will be seeing you next year, I think, right? Next year, yes. So thank you. Say hello to your wife and your daughter and your cat. So, and Merry Christmas to you. Okay.
Merry Christmas to your family, and Chris, Merry Christmas to yours.
Yes.
And all of our listeners.
Yes.
Have a wonderful Christmas or holiday season.
Thank you, Pastor. Good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Good day. Adios.
Adios.